Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to listen carefully, for what I am about to share is not just theory but the essence of a truth that has the power to reshape your life. It is simple yet profound. Once you truly know in the depth of your being that something is yours, nothing, no circumstance, no person, no obstacle can stand in your way. This is not a promise given lightly. It is a law of life that operates silently but inexorably, responding to the certainty of your consciousness. Many live their lives as though the world is outside them, dictating what they can or cannot have. They look at conditions, at situations, at the limitations of time and place, and they assume that these external circumstances govern their destiny. But the truth is quite different. Your reality is not created by the outer world. It is a reflection of your inner state. The moment you understand this, the moment you know with certainty that what you desire is already yours, the universe rearranges itself to reflect that knowing. It is as if the world cannot resist the command of your consciousness when it is filled with certainty. Consider the human mind as a fertile soil. Whatever you plant in this soil grows, not in some distant future, but in the very field of your imagination. If you plant doubt, fear, and uncertainty, these will manifest as limitations, setbacks, and failures. If you plant the seed of absolute knowing, the conviction that your desire is yours, then life itself bends to bring it forth. Nothing can block what has already been claimed in consciousness. Obstacles are not real, they are only illusions arising from the mind's lack of faith. When the knowing is real, obstacles dissolve as easily as mist under the morning sun. I want you to imagine a desire, a goal, something you have longed for but felt unsure about. Close your eyes and imagine that it is already in your possession. Feel the reality of it, not as a wish, but as a fact. How does it feel? What sensations arise in your body? What thoughts naturally follow from this knowing? Hold on to this feeling and let it saturate every part of your being. In this state, the world has no power over you because you are no longer negotiating with reality, you are commanding it. You are not asking, it is already yours. Many people believe that hard work, persistence, and external effort are the keys to success. While action has its place, it is secondary to the inner state. Action without inner certainty is like sailing a boat without a rudder. You may move, but you are at the mercy of the currents. When you know it is yours, your actions are no longer desperate or frantic. They are aligned, effortless, and guided by the intelligence of your inner knowing. The universe conspires to make your path smooth, to bring the necessary people, opportunities, and circumstances into alignment with your desire. Think of this. When a magnet knows it is a magnet, it attracts metal naturally. It does not struggle, it does not persuade, it simply is, and the law of attraction responds. So it is with human desire when backed by absolute knowing. Once you have claimed it in the mind, the world must yield. No person can deny it, no circumstance can prevent it, because the reality you hold is not contingent upon the opinions of others or the appearances of the world. It exists in the dimension of consciousness, and consciousness shapes all that is visible. Let me tell you something about doubt. Doubt is the great illusion that robs people of their desires. It masquerades as realism, as practicality, as wisdom. But every time doubt enters, it places a barrier between you and what you desire. When you remove doubt, when you know beyond all question that what you seek is yours, the world itself becomes a servant to your imagination. And do not think this knowing is mere wishful thinking. It is an inner fact, a reality experienced first in the mind, and the world must mirror it. The universe has no choice but to align with the certainty of your consciousness. Consider those moments in life when something you desired appeared effortlessly. Perhaps you were not struggling or worrying. Perhaps you merely assumed it, trusted it, and moved as if it were already in your hands. Those moments are proof that this principle works. It is not magic, it is law. Once you claim it, the universe cannot resist it. Nothing can block it, because nothing in the external world has power over the inner knowing of your mind. Your mind is the creative force, and it operates according to your beliefs and assumptions. Now, you may ask, what about fear? What about setbacks? What about failure? These are the illusions of the external world. They appear real, but they are only reflections of inner disbelief. When you hold the certainty that something is yours, fear loses its grip, setbacks become temporary, and failure cannot exist. You are no longer bargaining with reality, you are commanding it. The outer world is compelled to obey the inner reality that you embody. Life has no other choice but to conform to the certainty you carry. I want you to understand the immense power of assumption. To assume something is to accept it as true in consciousness, even before it appears in the outer world. Assumption is the seed of manifestation, and it must be planted deeply and nurtured with feeling. The mind does not argue with reality, it acts upon what is assumed to be true. Once you assume with conviction that a desire is yours, the world will reflect this assumption. You do not have to force it, beg for it, or manipulate circumstances. The knowing itself is the power, and it moves invisibly, rearranging the threads of existence until your desire is realized. Think of the human heart as a vessel of infinite power. Whatever you fill it with, it will manifest. Fill it with doubt, and you will see lack. Fill it with fear, and you will see obstacles. But fill it with knowing, with absolute certainty that your desire is already yours, and the world cannot stop it. Nothing in the outer world has the capacity to overrule the inner conviction. This is why it is so vital to cultivate your inner state, to protect it from negativity, and to saturate it with the reality of your desire. It is not enough to want. You must feel that it is done, that it is yours, that nothing can prevent it. Many people make the mistake of looking at the world for confirmation. They say, I will believe it when I see it. But this is backward. The seeing is created by the believing. First comes the inner state, the assumption, the knowing. Then inevitably comes the outer reality. To know it is yours is to set in motion the currents of life that bring it into being. To wait for evidence before believing is to invert the natural order. The world responds to consciousness, not the other way around. Once you claim it within, the world outside cannot deny it. I want you to consider the law of persistence, not in the sense of struggle, but in the sense of unwavering inner knowing. Persist in the inner reality of your desire. Persist in the feeling that it is already yours. Persist in the imagination that saturates your consciousness. The external world will conform. People, circumstances, and events cannot block what has been fully claimed within. There is an intelligence in the universe, a silent law, that responds only to the certainty of your consciousness. Once your inner knowing is complete, nothing outside can alter it. Remember, the mind is the builder. It creates silently, invisibly, before anything manifests externally. Nothing in the world exists until it has first been assumed in consciousness. Once you know it is yours, it is already created. The outer world is simply the echo, the reflection of the inner state. No obstacle is real except in the absence of inner certainty. No limitation exists when the mind is filled with the absolute knowing of possession. Everything is a mirror of the state you inhabit. Claim your state, and the mirror will reflect it without fail. Imagine a world where every desire you hold is already yours in consciousness. What would that do to your life? What would that do to your confidence, your peace, your sense of joy? When you operate from that knowing, you are no longer a victim of circumstances. You are a creator, a master of your reality. Obstacles do not frighten you because they are illusions. Opposition does not deter you because it has no real power. Once you know it is yours, the entire universe becomes an ally, bending, adjusting, and aligning with your inner reality. I want you to feel the weight of this principle, not as an idea, not as philosophy, but as a living truth that governs existence. Once you know it is yours, nothing can block it. The universe moves to bring it forth. The moment you take full possession of this knowing, the outer world becomes secondary. You act not from desperation, but from the assurance that your desire is inevitable. The currents of life themselves align with your assumption, orchestrating circumstances and opportunities that you may not even have imagined. This is the law in action, and it works without fail for those who dare to know it fully. Some may say, but life is unpredictable. Things happen beyond my control. And yes, appearances may shift, conditions may change, but these are only the expressions of inner states. Nothing outside can touch the certainty that resides within you. Once your consciousness is aligned with the reality of your desire, the universe has no choice but to respond. No delay, no interference, no circumstance can alter the outcome. It is yours already in the realm where creation begins, in the mind and imagination. Once you know it, it cannot be denied. You may wonder how to cultivate this knowing. It begins with attention, with focus, with the refusal to dwell on contrary evidence. It begins with feeling, with imagining the reality as if it were present. Immerse yourself in the experience of having, of being, of living as though your desire is already fulfilled. Speak to yourself in the language of possession. Move through your day as if nothing can prevent it. Let the knowing saturate your thoughts, your words, your feelings, and your actions. This is the inner art of creation, the unshakable certainty that makes manifestation inevitable. Let me remind you that this principle is not dependent on effort, struggle, or manipulation. It is dependent solely on consciousness. The world cannot resist the state of knowing that a thing is yours. You do not have to fight for it, plead for it, or convince anyone else. You do not have to calculate probabilities or wait for the right moment. The moment your consciousness embraces it fully, the world bows to it. Nothing can block it, because it exists first where reality is born, in your mind, in your assumption, in your knowing. So I urge you today, cultivate this inner certainty. Know that what you desire is already yours. Refuse to be shaken by appearances. Refuse to let doubt and fear dictate your reality. Feel the truth in every fiber of your being. Live from the end, assume the possession, and watch the world respo. Once you know it is yours, nothing, absolutely nothing, can block it. The universe is compelled to deliver. This is the law of life, silent, invisible, and unstoppable. Claim it, know it, live it, and watch as your desires manifest with effortless certainty. Now, let us reflect on what it truly means to know something is yours. It is not a fleeting thought or a passing wish. It is a state of consciousness so profound that it permeates every layer of your being. When you reach this state, you do not hope or ask. You simply recognize. Recognition carries a weight, a reality that thought alone cannot achieve. It is the difference between desiring a thing and owning it in consciousness. The former may flicker and fade, the latter persists, unshakable, unstoppable. You see, the mind cannot distinguish between an imagined reality and a physical one when the feeling of certainty is fully embodied. To the mind, if you feel it is yours, and the universe responds in kind. Every moment you dwell in this knowing, the world is silently reshaping itself around your inner reality. People act differently toward you, opportunities appear, coincidences occur, all orchestrated by the invisible currents that flow from your consciousness. You may not yet see the full picture, but the mechanism is already at work. Trust in it. Trust in yourself. Trust in the power of your inner knowing. Do not let impatience or skepticism divert you from the reality you have claimed. Every day, every hour, every thought you feed with this certainty strengthens the current that carries your desire into manifestation. Consider how many times in life we have been deterred by appearances. The bank account seems insufficient. The job seems unreachable. The person seems unavailable. Circumstances seem unfavorable. Yet all of these are simply reflections of what we think about them. They are not reality itself. They are mirrors of inner doubt, inner hesitation, inner disbelief. When you know it is yours, you cease to negotiate with these appearances. You no longer measure reality against your desire. You measure your desire against reality. And when your inner scale is tipped toward knowing, the world itself must conform. Feel now the sensation of total possession. Imagine holding what you have longed for in your arms. Imagine experiencing it fully, as if it is already here. The body responds to this inner reality: joy, relief, excitement, peace. All these sensations are proof that the inner state is real. This feeling is the key that unlocks the outer manifestation. Without feeling, the mind cannot communicate effectively with reality. With feeling, with conviction, with unwavering knowing, the universe responds without hesitation. Nothing can block what is fully imagined, for imagination is the blueprint of creation, and the feeling of possession is the fuel that brings the blueprint into form. It is also essential to recognize the futility of struggle. Many are caught in the illusion that they must fight, push, or manipulate life to achieve their desires. But struggle is born of doubt, and doubt is the only true barrier. Once you know it is yours, struggle becomes unnecessary. Action may be required, yes, but it is effortless, harmonious, inspired. You act from alignment, not desperation. Every step you take resonates with the knowing within, and each step attracts circumstances that echo this certainty. The world cannot resist the vibration of someone who knows. It bends naturally, organically, like water flowing around a rock. Resistance itself disappears in the face of absolute certainty. Notice how easily life moves when your inner state is fully aligned with what you desire. Problems that once seemed insurmountable dissolve. Doors that were closed swing open. Help, guidance, and solutions appear from unexpected sources. This is not coincidence, and it is not luck. It is the inevitable response of the universe to consciousness that knows itself as possessing. Nothing external has the power to block it, because the power resides in the source from which all things flow, the awareness that claims and holds its desires. When you understand this, you understand the essence of creation. Reality is not outside you, it flows from within, and nothing can override it when fully known. Now imagine the consistency of this knowing. To claim it once is not enough. To truly master the principle, it must become a permanent state of consciousness. Let it saturate your thinking, your feeling, your imagination. Let it permeate your interactions, your decisions, your daily life. This is the difference between temporary fulfillment and lasting mastery. When you dwell consistently in the knowing that your desire is already yours, you are no longer dependent on circumstances to confirm it. You carry the reality within, and the world outside is compelled to align with it. Every delay, every challenge, every seeming denial is neutralized by this inner mastery. It cannot touch what is fully owned in consciousness. Understand, too, the liberating power of this realization. Once you know it is yours, you are free from the anxiety and fear that bind so many. You are free from the need to negotiate with the opinions of others. You are free from the illusion of time, for manifestation is not bound by clocks or schedules. It is bound only by the certainty of your mind. The mind that knows does not argue, does not wait, does not hesitate. It simply claims, and the world aligns. Imagine living in such freedom, every desire approached without fear, every goal pursued without doubt, every aspiration realized without struggle. This is the state of mastery that comes from knowing and claiming what is yours. Do not mistake this for complacency. It is not passive, it is active in the most profound sense. It is the activity of creation itself, the act of holding a reality in consciousness and allowing it to take form. Every thought, every feeling, every moment of attention becomes a brushstroke on the canvas of life. When you know it is yours, every brushstroke aligns with the final masterpiece. Nothing can interrupt this flow, nothing can obstruct the inevitable manifestation. You are, in essence, a co-creator with life, shaping reality from the unseen into the seen with effortless authority. And consider this, the world constantly tests your knowing. Appearances may suggest otherwise. People may doubt. Circumstances may resist, events may delay. This is the world reflecting its own discord, not your failure. Your task is not to argue with appearances, it is to remain steadfast in the reality you have assumed. Let the knowing be unshakable. Let it guide your imagination, your actions, your feelings. The outer world is simple, a stage, and your consciousness is the director. Once you know it is yours, the play unfolds exactly as written. Regardless of the seeming chaos on stage, it is also vital to recognize that nothing external can diminish the power of your inner knowing. Wealth, relationships, health, opportunities, none of these depend on the world's consent. They depend entirely on your inner state. Once your mind is fully persuaded, fully convinced, fully aware of possession, the world itself must mirror this reality. You may see delay, you may see absence, but these are only reflections of fleeting disbelief. Persist in your knowing. Persist in your assumption. Persist in the living feeling that it is done. The outer world cannot resist a consciousness that refuses to waver. And finally, understand the transformative effect this principle has on your entire life. Once you know it is yours, not only is the specific desire fulfilled, but your entire being shifts. Confidence replaces fear, joy replaces anxiety, peace replaces struggle. Life becomes a series of effortless manifestations, each flowing from the inner certainty that shapes reality. You no longer live by chance, by circumstance, or by what appears in the outer world. You live by the creative power within you, the power of knowing, the power of claiming, the power of being. Once you embrace this, nothing can block it. Not time, not space, not conditions, not people, not even the seeming randomness of life itself. Now imagine the limitless possibilities that unfold when you operate from this state of knowing. Every circumstance that once seemed challenging now serves as an ally. Every person who appeared indifferent becomes a participant in your unfolding reality. Life itself conspires to bring you closer to what you have already claimed in consciousness. This is not mere hope, it is the natural consequence of the inner law that governs all creation. The universe does not argue, does not negotiate. It simply responds to the certainty that resides in your mind. Once you know it is yours, the outer world becomes a reflection, a mirror that cannot deny the reality you hold within. Consider how often people allow external opinions and appearances to sway them. They look at the situation and feel that it is impossible. They hear no from others and believe it is the final word. They read stories of delay and lack and assume they are part of their own life. But the inner state is sovereign. Nothing outside can overrule the reality that has been fully assumed. The knowing that a desire is yours is the key that unlocks the door. When you possess this key, no lock, no obstacle, no seeming impossibility can hold back what belongs to you. Feel the power and understanding that your mind is the creative instrument of the universe. Thoughts are not idle. Feelings are not trivial. Every thought, every feeling, every assumption acts as a seed. Plant seeds of certainty, and the world will grow according to your command. Plant seeds of doubt, and the world will present obstacles. This is why it is not enough to want something superficially. To manifest fully, you must embody the reality, feel it as though it is accomplished, and hold it without compromise. Nothing external has the power to oppose the inner certainty of possession. Think now of the strength that comes from unwavering faith in your own consciousness. When you know it is yours, the mind does not question, the heart does not hesitate, and the body moves in harmony with the invisible forces that arrange reality. Every interaction, every choice, every opportunity begins to resonate with the inner truth you hold. Life itself becomes effortless because it is no longer a struggle between desire and reality. Instead, reality bows to the certainty of the inner state. The universe cannot resist it because it is responding to the creative force from which all things emerge, your consciousness. You may be wondering how to sustain this knowing amid challenges. It is natural to feel pressure, to see circumstances that contradict your desire, to hear voices that sow doubt. But these are mere shadows. Your task is to remain anchored in the inner truth. Imagine a ship on a stormy sea. The waves may toss it, the winds may roar, but the anchor below holds it steady. The anchor of knowing that it is yours must be planted deep within your consciousness. As long as this anchor is secure, no storm can remove you from the reality you have assumed. Notice how your imagination plays a central role. It is not simply a tool for dreaming, it is the mechanism through which reality is crafted. To see, to feel, to live as though your desire is already present, is to place a claim upon life that cannot be denied. When your imagination is vivid, alive, and consistent, it sets in motion invisible currents that bend time, space, and circumstance to your will. Nothing external can resist the vibration of an imagination fully convinced of possession. Doubt may whisper, appearances may suggest otherwise, but the inner knowing is the law, and law immutable. And let us speak of timing. Many believe that manifestation is delayed because the time is not right or circumstances are not perfect. But this is a misconception. Timing is dictated entirely by inner readiness, by the depth of your assumption, by the intensity of your knowing. Once you fully claim what is yours, the universe immediately begins to respond. Appearances may take a form that seems delayed, but nothing is ever late when consciousness is fully aligned. The moment of true possession exists within you, and the world outside conforms inevitably to this inner reality. Feel now the liberation that comes from this understanding. To know it is yours frees you from worry, frees you from struggle, frees you from the tyranny of outer appearances. You no longer measure your worth, your success, or your fulfillment by what you see in the world. Instead, you measure it by the unshakable reality of your consciousness. Nothing can block what you have claimed, nothing can resist it, nothing can diminish it. This knowing transforms not only the attainment of desire, but the experience of life itself. Consider the joy that arises when you live from the end. To live from the end is to live as though all that you desire is already yours. Your thoughts, words, and actions flow effortlessly from this reality. You carry the power of certainty in every gesture, every expression, every choice. Life no longer imposes limits upon you because your consciousness has transcended limits. You are no longer negotiating with life. You are commanding it, and life responds accordingly. Every obstacle is a fleeting illusion, every delay is neutralized, and every impossibility is dissolved in the light of knowing. And yet, even as you know it is yours, maintain a gentle focus. There is no need to force, to strain, or to grasp. True knowing is calm, serene, confident. It does not shout or demand, it simply exists as fact. Like the sun that rises without asking permission, your inner certainty radiates, affecting everything in its sphere. People, circumstances, events, they all fall into alignment, drawn by the irresistible power of your inner reality. Nothing can block it, because the power lies not in outer struggle but in inner mastery. You must also understand that this is not limited to one area of life. Once you embrace the principle fully, it permeates every dimension of your existence. Wealth, love, health, opportunities, peace, joy, each unfolds according to the same law. The mind that knows cannot be denied, and the universe reflects this knowing with precision. Each desire, each goal, each aspiration responds to the state you hold. This is the nature of creation, and it is accessible to anyone who cultivates the inner state of absolute knowing. Recognize the profound responsibility of this power. To know it is yours is to wield a creative force. Every thought, every feeling, every assumption shapes your world. Use this knowledge consciously, deliberately, with clarity of intention. Do not be swayed by appearances. Do not be shaken by doubt. Do not relinquish your claim. The universe responds to the certainty of your consciousness with unwavering fidelity. Once you know it is yours, nothing, no one, no circumstance, no illusion can block it. Your power is infinite, and the manifestation is inevitable. Now imagine for a moment the freedom that comes when you no longer allow the world to dictate your reality. Imagine stepping into each day with the absolute certainty that what you desire is already yours. How would it change the way you move, speak, and act? You would no longer be anxious. You would no longer seek approval. You would no longer negotiate with doubt. Every step you take would be a reflection of the reality you already possess. Your energy would align with the invisible forces of life, drawing toward you the circumstances, people, and opportunities that complete the picture of your fulfilled desire. Nothing can block what has been claimed in consciousness, for the world is compelled to mirror the state you inhabit. Consider how many times you have abandoned a desire because of appearances. Perhaps the timing seemed wrong, the path too difficult, or the opposition too great. Yet, in truth, these external obstacles never had the power to prevent what you were meant to experience. They were merely signals pointing to where your faith wavered. The moment you realize that the reality of your desire exists first in your consciousness, these obstacles lose all meaning. They are no longer threats. They are simply illusions, temporary clouds that dissolve in the light of knowing. Your certainty is the sun that melts them away, leaving only the clarity of what is already yours. Think of the human imagination as a laboratory of creation. Every image you dwell upon, every feeling you nurture, every thought you hold, shapes the reality that will eventually appear. To know it is yours is to conduct experiments in the laboratory of the mind, with the knowledge that each experiment is guaranteed to produce results. It is not a matter of chance or luck. The laws of consciousness are precise and unerring. When you assume the reality of your desire fully, the external world is bound to obey. No interference, no opposition, no delay can alter the outcome, for the outcome is already determined in the fertile field of your knowing. Feel the strength of this principle in your own body, in your own heart. It is not abstract, it is alive, palpable, and transformative. When you feel the reality of your desire as if it is already yours, a vibration is set in motion that moves through every layer of your existence. Your thoughts, words, actions, and energy all align with this vibration, and life itself is drawn toward it. It is a force both subtle and undeniable. It does not shout, it does not struggle. It simply is, and the universe responds naturally. Nothing can resist a force so certain, so aligned, so absolute. Notice how easily life begins to respond when you no longer doubt. Opportunities that once seemed hidden reveal themselves. People who seemed indifferent or unavailable are drawn into alignment with your desire. Circumstances shift, not by force, but by the natural response of reality to the inner state. When you truly know it is yours, the world conspires in ways you cannot yet imagine. It is not coincidence, it is not luck. It is the natural effect of consciousness in motion. Your knowing is the law, and the law is unwavering. Nothing external has the capacity to block it, because it has already been secured where it matters most, in your mind, in your heart, in your unshakable assumption. And let us reflect on the nature of resistance. Resistance exists only when belief falters, when the mind vacillates, when doubt enters, when fear whispers. The world seems to conspire against you. But once the inner certainty is absolute, resistance dissolves. It cannot survive the radiance of knowing. Obstacles that seemed monumental shrink to insignificance. Delays that seemed endless vanish. Opposition that appeared formidable turns into opportunity. This is the profound and unassailable truth. Certainty in consciousness is invincible. Nothing can stand against it. Nothing can impede it. Nothing can prevent it from manifesting exactly as it has been assumed. Consider the joy of living from this state. Each day becomes a canvas upon which your certainty paints the reality you desire. You move through life with confidence, with clarity, with peace. You no longer react to the world, you create it. People respond to your energy, circumstances align with your intention, and opportunities appear as naturally as waves reaching the shore. Life is no longer a struggle. It is a collaboration with the infinite intelligence that responds to the certainty of your knowing. The moment you claim it, the world cannot resist. Nothing can block it because the source of creation lies within you, and you have already taken possession. Think too of the power of repetition and focus. Every moment you dwell on the reality you desire, every thought that reinforces its possession, every feeling that confirms it, strengthens the current that brings it into being. The mind does not tire, the universe does not delay. Every vibration of certainty adds to the momentum of manifestation. Even when the outer world appears contrary, your inner reality remains steadfast, unshakable, and absolute. To know it is yours is to place an unbreakable anchor in the sea of possibility, and the tides of life must bow to this anchor. Nothing can block it. Feel the liberation in this understanding. No longer are you at the mercy of circumstances, of other people, or of chance. Your inner knowing is sovereign. It governs everything. It commands life, and life responds. The external world is simply a reflection, a canvas, a stage on which the certainty you hold is displayed. Once you know it is yours, you walk through life with authority, with grace, with assurance. There is no negotiation, no striving, no resistance. The currents of life themselves align with the certainty you carry, and manifestation becomes effortless, inevitable, and exact. Now think of your desires as already completed. See them fulfilled. Feel them as if they exist here and now. Breathe in the reality of their presence. In this state, there is no waiting, no hoping, no asking. There is only the knowing, and this knowing is alive, vibrant, and irresistible. It reaches out, touches circumstances, rearranges conditions, attracts allies, and dissolves obstacles. Nothing external can oppose it. Nothing can prevent it. It is already secured, already claimed, already real, in the dimension that precedes all manifestation, the dimension of consciousness. Now reflect on how the world responds to certainty. Life itself moves differently for those who know what they possess. People who once seemed indifferent begin to act in alignment with your reality. Circumstances that seemed fixed suddenly shift, bending naturally to the certainty you hold within. Doors open that you never even knocked on. Opportunities arise that you never even sought. The universe has no choice but to obey the inner law of knowing. for the outer world is powerless against. A consciousness fully convinced of its possession. Once you know it is yours, no obstacle can remain, no opposition can endure, no delay can hinder. Think of the energy that arises from absolute certainty. There is a force in the mind that is more powerful than any physical circumstance, more influential than any person, more persuasive than any law of the world. This force flows directly from the state of knowing. When you embrace it, when you feel it, when you live it, the currents of reality cannot resist it. Every situation, every event, every person is drawn into alignment with the inner truth you embody. The world has no agency against a mind that claims and inhabits its desire fully. Nothing can block it because it is already done where creation begins, in consciousness. Consider the moments when you have witnessed life manifest seemingly impossibly. Perhaps you were not striving, perhaps you were not forcing, perhaps you simply imagined it, accepted it, and believed it fully. These are the moments that reveal the principle at work. The manifestation does not come through struggle, it comes through assumption. The world is compelled to reflect what the mind has already established. Once you know it is yours, even the most challenging conditions bend and adjust. What once appeared impossible becomes inevitable. All resistance is neutralized by the power of inner certainty. Feel the liberation in this truth. To know it is yours is to release the chains of outer circumstance. No longer are you bound by what is seen, by what others think, by what seems probable. You live beyond probability because your reality is created in consciousness, and consciousness cannot be deceived by appearances. Every obstacle is temporary, every seeming denial is fleeting, every difficulty is only a mirror of doubt. When you hold the inner knowing firmly, the outer world must conform. It is not a matter of luck, nor timing, nor effort. It is a law, precise, unwavering, and absolute. Notice the power of imagination in sustaining this knowing. To imagine vividly is to plant seeds that will inevitably grow. Your imagination is not idle. It is the laboratory of creation. The more alive, detailed, and emotional your inner scene, the faster the world aligns with it. To live in imagination is to live in reality before the senses confirm it. And when the feeling of possession saturates this imagination, nothing can oppose it. The mind does not question. The universe does not resist. Obstacles, delays, difficulties, all are illusions that vanish in the presence of unshakable knowing. Once you claim it in imagination, the outer world must reflect it. Think about the difference between hoping and knowing. Hope is a fragile, uncertain state. It depends on circumstances, on timing, on possibility. Knowing is absolute, self-contained, and invincible. When you know it is yours, hope becomes unnecessary, struggle becomes irrelevant, and waiting becomes obsolete. You are no longer dependent on the world to deliver, you are dependent only on the certainty within. The world moves in response. Nothing can block what is already secured in consciousness. The mind that knows cannot be denied, the universe is compelled to obey. And let us consider the role of repetition, of focus, of persistence, not in struggle, but in unwavering inner conviction. Every thought, every feeling, every attention you give to the reality of your desire strengthens the current that will carry it into manifestation. Even if appearances contradict it, even if delays seem to persist, the force of repeated knowing builds until reality itself yields. Nothing external can resist a mind that refuses to waver, a consciousness that remains anchored in the certainty of possession. Obstacles dissolve, delays vanish, opposition turns into opportunity, all because what has been claimed internally cannot be blocked externally. Now, imagine living entirely from this state of knowing. How would it shape your daily life? You would act without fear, speak without hesitation, move without doubt. Every choice would be aligned with your inner reality. Every encounter would be guided by the power of assumption. Every challenge would appear only as a temporary shadow, unable to interfere with the certainty you carry. Life would feel effortless, harmonious, and responsive, because the source of creation, the mind, would be firmly aligned with the end you have already claimed. Nothing external has the power to obstruct a consciousness fully convinced of its possession. Notice the influence of your inner state on the outer world. Your energy, your presence, your certainty radiates and touches everything around you. People, circumstances, opportunities, All are drawn by the invisible currents of consciousness. Nothing can block the flow of life when it is guided by the certainty that it is already yours. Even events that seem contradictory are only temporary misalignments. They are corrected naturally by the force of inner knowing. The universe bends, rearranges, and organizes itself to mirror the reality you hold within. Once you know it is yours, manifestation is inevitable, effortless, and exact. So, as we bring this understanding to a close, remember this: the world cannot give you what you have not first claimed in your consciousness, nor can it take from you what you have fully assumed as yours. Everything you desire, every goal, every dream, every aspiration begins in the unseen realm of your mind and heart. To know it is yours is to hold the key to its manifestation. Doubt, fear, delay, opposition, all are illusions that cannot withstand the light of certainty. Once you claim it, once you feel it as yours, the universe responds inevitably, effortlessly, and completely. Let this truth settle deeply within you. No longer negotiate with appearances. No longer wait for confirmation from the world. Step boldly into the knowing that your desires are already fulfilled. Live from the end, act from the certainty, and let life respond to the reality you carry inside. The outer world is but a mirror, the inner state is the command. Once you know it is yours, nothing can block it, nothing can resist it, nothing can prevent it. Carry this knowing forward into every moment, into every thought, into every action. Let it guide you, empower you, and inspire you. The reality you desire is not a distant possibility. It is your present truth in the realm where creation begins. Believe it, feel it, live it, and watch as your world unfolds perfectly in accordance with the certainty you hold. Once you know it is yours, know